Hi, welcome to another episode of Book Covers DIY. I have been reading your comments and feedback about how this channel or these tutorials have helped you design your ebook cover, and I am so thrilled to hear that, by the way. But a good majority of you have been asking me to teach you how to design a print book cover. So that's the project we are going to tackle today. Now, normally you would need some kind of design software like Photoshop or something, but I'm going to show you how you can quickly and easily do this in Canva as well. All right, so let's get started. Once you register and sign in, you will be taken to a homepage that looks similar to this. Normally, we click over here on book cover. This is the ebook cover template. As you can see, the dimensions are right there. This means it's going to be just a one page. You only have a front cover. It does not have a spine and it does not have a back cover. So we are going to need to get the dimensions for our print book cover. So we're going to hop on over to Google or any kind of search engine. Then we are going to type in KDP cover calculator. You can see the first result right here. It says KDP cover calculator, Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing. We're going to click on that link. Here we are in our print cover calculator. So once you have completely finished writing your book, all the way to the very end, you are going to need to come over to this website and make these selections in order to get the dimensions of your book cover and download the template. Okay, the first selection is binding type. Are we going to be creating a hardcover or paperback? For today's tutorial, I'm going to be working on a paperback. The interior type is going to be either black and white, premium color, or standard color. Today's pretend book, I'm going to say, is a fiction novel. I'm going to select black and white. If you were creating some sort of coffee table book or any kind of instructional book or something with color, then you might want to choose premium or standard. But today it's just going to be a standard fiction novel, so I'm selecting black and white. Paper type, you have two choices, cream paper or white paper. I'm going to choose white paper. Okay, this one is going to sound a little confusing. It says page turn direction. Okay, your choices are left to right or right to left. So ignore the words page turn and just think in your head reading direction. I read from left to right. Select the first one. Now measurement units, I'm going to select inches. Okay, interior trim size. Okay, now this is where you are going to select the size of your book. You can see they start all the way down from 5 by 8 all the way up to, I think there's some 8.5 by 11s here. You can create a custom trim size. For this fake novel today, I'm going to select a 6 by 9 inch format. Now this last selection is extremely important. It says page count, the number of pages at your formatted trim size. So remember, if you have written your story on some kind of Word document, or if you use Mac, we have Pages, more than likely you have been writing on an 8.5 by 11 inch page size. So let's say you have 200 pages on an 8.5 by 11. Once you format it to a 6 by 9, you're going to have way more pages than 200. So make sure whatever you're writing your story on is formatted to the same size of your finished product, of your actual print book. So another thing that's important on this selection is that you're not only counting the pages of your story, where let's say it would say once upon a time and then all the way to the end, but you need to count all the pages in between. Okay, so let's say our story is exactly 300 pages. That's from beginning to end. But we also need to add in, a title page. We have the title on the outside of the book, but typically you will find a title page inside the book as well. You will also find a copyright page, and you may want a dedication page. These first three are usually found at the front of the book. Then at the back of the book, you might find an author page where, you've included a photo of yourself, maybe your website, your social media, links, things like that. You may want to add another page that can be for a list of other books, like if you've, written some previous books, or if this is part of a series. Or instead of this, you may want to have a thank you page. And then you might also want a blank page at the beginning and another one at the end. Okay, so even though our story was 300 pages, once you add all of these, including these 2 blank pages, that equals a total of 307 pages. So make sure to account for all of these other pages, or any other additional pages you'd like to add in there. So our total page count is 307. We are going to type that in there. Okay, once you have all of these filled out, you are just going to click on Calculate Dimensions, and then you are going to get this sort of mock-up. If you want to know the dimensions of each section, it's listed right up here. So we have, the full cover, which is from end to end, or just the front cover, 6x9. These are the measurements for the safe area, the bleeds, the margins, the spine, everything, including the barcode area. All of those are listed here. So now that we have all of this information, we are going to come to this lower left, and right below Calculate Dimensions, we are going to click on Download Template. So click on that, and you can see it is downloading the template in a zip file. Do not close this because we're going to need some information here, but let's go ahead and click on our download. Once we click on the zip file, it'll open in a folder. Let's double click on our folder. And we have 3 files in here. We have a README file, you can just leave that alone, but you have the template in a PNG form and a PDF form. Let me click on those to show you what they look like. Here's the PNG. This is the one we're actually going to be using in just a moment. And then here's the PDF. I will explain all this to you once we upload it in Canva, just a second. So let me just close these out and close our downloads. All right, so leave this tab open with these dimensions. Now we're going to hop over to Canva. What we're going to do is come up to the top right corner and click on Create a Design. Then we're going to go all the way down to Custom Size and click on that. Okay, so here we have 3 boxes, our width and our height. Before we enter any numbers, we need to click here, and we need to change it from pixels to inches. Or if you had selected millimeters on your measure units, then you would select that. We are going to click on inches. Now we need to enter the width and the height sizes. So we're going to come back to our KDP cover calculator tab, and number 1 right here, it says full cover. Right here on the second column, it says width in inches. Let's just copy that. And then we're going to come over to Canva and we're going to paste it in that first box. Then hop back over to our third column, which is our height, 9.25. Copy and paste. Okay, once we have our 2 measurements in, we're going to click on Create New Design. It's going to take us over to our design area. Here on the right is our canvas. Okay, over here on the left, we have our toolbox. Okay, so we are going to go over on the far left. We're going to go down to the third one, which is Uploads. It's going to take us to an area where we can upload our own files or images. Click on the purple Upload Files button, and then your download should appear. I'm going to select the PNG. You can see right here, this one at the end says PDF, and this one says PNG. Click on the PNG and open. It's going to upload that template right here into your uploaded files. Once the blue-purple bar disappears, it is ready to use. So just click on your template. It's going to appear over here on your canvas. As you can see, it does not fit our canvas. So all you have to do is go to any of the 4 corners. You can see these little white circles, and they turn purple when you hover over them. Just click on one and start stretching it until it reaches the corner. Then come over here to the other side and stretch it. Once it has fully stretched to fill in the entire canvas, you can just click off to the side and it will place it. And you can see there is no longer any white showing around the edges. All right, so let's stop for a moment and just take a look at our template here. Let's start here on the upper left. The black solid line is your trim size. It says this is where your book will be cut to produce the final trim size. You can see when I'm on the page, it looks like there's 2 black lines, but it's actually that outer line is purple, and that's a canvas line, so just ignore that. You can see it disappears. Okay, so the solid black line here is where, the machine will cut your book cover, at the factory. Okay, the blue dash line is the spine fold. Fold placement may vary slightly, of course, because everything is made by machine, so, things aren't always identical. So you can see here are the 2 blue dash lines. So this will be where the book cover is folded. Okay, the white area is the live area. Everything in the white area will be visible. So make sure to position any of your logos, your text, and essential images in this area. Okay, the red area, or it actually looks, very pink. Everything that's in the red area is going to be out of the live area. This is the bleed area. Your background artwork must fill the red area. They want you to stretch your image all the way to the end, even though it's going to be cut on the black line. So a lot of people think, well, if it's going to be cut on the black line, I need to stop it, but that's where it's going to get rejected. So make sure to just stretch it all the way. At the same time, do not place any important information like your logos, your text, or essential images in the red area. For instance, let's say your cover image has, someone holding a sword. If the tip of the sword went up into this red area at all, once it is printed and cut, you're not going to see the tip of the sword. It's going to be kind of cut off. At that point, you would want to shrink your image or reposition it to make sure the tip of the sword is shown, if you wanted it to. Or, the top of someone's head, or even any wording, anything like that. It needs to be well within the red area or the pink area. If your artwork does not meet these requirements, it may be rejected. And again, that's a main issue people have, is either important information in the red area or not realizing they need to extend their image all the way to the full bleed section. And here's another very important thing to remember, is that you need to remove this template layer from the final artwork before you submit it or before you download it, because anything that's visible in your artwork is going to be visible in your printed artwork. So I'll show you and I'll remind you at the end that we need to remove that. Down here at the bottom, this is where Amazon's going to put your barcode. So make sure that nothing important goes back here. Like if you are writing a book blurb, don't have like the last few sentences in this area, because no one will be able to read it. Same thing with any part of your artwork, illustration, it will be covered here. So just keep that in mind. Again, I'm going to show you how we're going to check this along the way as we're designing our cover. Okay, and by the way, this whole left side is going to be the back cover of your book. Again, here's the spine, and then everything on the right is going to be the front cover. So here we can see that we are working on a paperback book today. The size of our book is 6x9. And then here are the overall dimensions from end to end, from this side all the way to this side is this 12.941 by 9.25. Here's the width of the spine. Again, we are working on a black and white book, 307 pages of white paper. All right, so now that we have gone through all this information, let's get started on designing. So I'm going to reduce the size again. Okay, now I do have to say at the last minute, if for some reason you decide, I want to write an epilogue or, a prologue or something like that, or just add a few pages for any reason, you will need to go back in your cover calculator. You will need to change this number and recalculate the dimensions, because the Amazon KDP is very finicky. So you need to have the exact number of pages, even if you're just adding like 2 or 3. Just recalculate it, download a brand new template and use that. All right, so now let's get started on our designing. Okay, so today we're going to be working on a fake fiction novel. Now, if you want to make a super simple cover, you can just come over here to Elements, and you can go down to Lines and Shapes. I'm going to click on See All, and if you select this first one, the square, you're going to get a square over here, and then you can actually, just stretch it out to fit the measurements. And you can do that really simple. But today I'm going to show you how to work with a photograph, because I know most of you are going to want a more professional looking book cover, and photographs are the best way to go. So let's go ahead and start with finding a photo. So I'm going to delete this. All you have to do is come up to the little trash can and click on delete. There are several places you can get photos. One that we often use is pixabay.com. You can search for, let's see, we'll do a vampire. Make sure your safe search is on, and then let's click on photos. So here we have some, possible vampire images that we could use. Another site we can use is pexels.com. It's like pixels, but with an E. Same thing, we can look up vampire, and there are some photos in here as well. But I'm actually going to just stick with Canva, and we're going to go over here on the left, and let's go down to photos, and let's type in vampire. You will notice that some of these have a crown and they say Pro. That means that these photos are only available if you're using Canva Pro. So if you want to filter those out, just come up here to these dials and you're going to go down to price, click on free, apply filters. So you can see it filtered out everything that had the crown and said Pro. So now all of these images are completely free to use. But if you use my affiliate link in the description box below, you will get a free trial of Canva Pro, which will allow you to have access to any and all the photos, including those with the crown. So I'm going to take that off. Now, another filter I want to use today, because I want to find a cover photo for just the front. And if you notice, some of these are horizontal. Of course, we can always crop them in, but I actually want to filter them out. And I'm going to select vertical. So I only want vertical images to appear in my results. Apply filters. Okay, so you can see now all the horizontal images have been removed. For today's fake story, we're going to have a vampire queen. So let's say, there's a bunch of different images here that we can choose. I think I'm going to go with this one right here at the top. So I'm just going to click on that image and it's going to appear over here on my canvas. Again, this can be done with any photo, any genre. Okay, so what we're going to do is just click on it and slide it over here to the right, because this is going to be our front cover image. And just like we did before, we are going to grab one of the corners and stretch it out. And same thing here. Okay, and it seems to fit pretty well. Now I'm going to click off to the side and it will place it. Now I'm going to show you how to make sure that everything is within our template. So come over to the template side and just click on it. Okay, so come over to the upper right and you'll see this button that says position. Click on that. And then I want you to click on forward. Okay, so you see the image of the vampire woman disappeared. It's still there, it's just hidden. Watch, let me kind of show you. See, I just slid this over and it's back there. If you've ever worked in Photoshop, you know that there are a bunch of layers and you can work one at a time. Unfortunately, Canva doesn't have where you can see them all side by side. So what you do is just use this position button, it'll move things forward or backward. The way we're going to check our image and make sure, it all fits inside the red and all the important parts are showing is we're going to go up here to this little checkerboard, and that is the transparency. So click on there and then we're going to have a slider. Watch what happens when I slide it to the left. You see, we can see the image that was hiding beneath it, right? So like this part of her forehead, it's in the red area, so that means it's going to be cut off, but that's okay because it's not like her eyes or her nose or anything like that. It's just the very top of her forehead. So that's perfectly fine with me. You can see here that the image is going over into the spine. That's fine that it overlaps so long as it's not short. You don't want it to be too short. So everything looks good with this photo. We can click on it again, and then I'm just going to click on position and I'm going to click on backward. So now it moved behind our image again. Okay, so now our photo is on top. Okay, now for our back cover, you can, again, do something really simple, like go over to elements, and then we can select a shape. Here is a square. We can just stretch out the rectangle all the way. Here's our rectangle. Now, if you want to change the color, come up here to this little square, click in there, and then you can select any color you want down here under default colors. You can see here's a gray, here's a white, black. The colors just above that say photo colors. So you can see right here, this is the photo of the vampire woman. And here are the colors that are used in this image. So if you wanted to match, you can select one of those. You can see these first three are pretty similar. Or actually the first four. Then there's sort of a green. This is the green that's kind of reflected in her face. If you wanted to create a custom color, you can just come up here to the plus symbol and use this slider. Let's say we wanted red. We're going to slide it over to the red, and then we're going to use this shading control and see when I move it up and down. We have some red on her cape here and on her mouth. So let's say we wanted just, a sort of a crimson back cover. We could do that. and click off to the side. So you could do that. You can have it as a back cover and then choose a different color for your spine. Or if you wanted this to go all the way up, you could just slide it all the way up. And this would be your back cover and your spine. I'm just going to trash that because I want to show you how to add a second image or a second photo. Okay, again, we're going to go to our photos. We already have vampire in the search engine. Now, if this was a story about a guy and girl vampire, you can select one of these guys. Like here's one here. We could select him if he was a second character in our story, and you could stretch it out like that. Or let's see, there's this guy, and you can select him as well. Whatever your story's about, you can have two separate images. I'm going to delete this guy because I already have something I want to put on the back. Let me just find it. Okay, this one right here. Okay, so I'm going to click on this image of this apple that's kind of got some like blood on it. Again, I'm just going to take a corner and stretch it out. And so now we have our main character on the front and an apple on the back. Okay, but here's the problem. There are two different photographs by, probably two different photographers, so they don't match. If you notice, this one here has sort of a faded, more grayish background. She has like some greenish light on her skin. Then we have this white light here. The background on this apple is very dark, very saturated black, and this red is more of a bright red, whereas this is more of a crimson red. So we are going to need to tweak these photos. And again, you can do this with any photos you select for your book cover. So to do that, we are going to, let's start with this apple photo. I'm going to click on the photo, and then right up here, we're going to click on Edit Image. Okay, we're going to have some new tools appear on the left. Okay, and depending on your photograph, you can, try out some of these filters, or there's duotone, photogenic, things like that. Today I'm going to just work with adjusting the image manually. So right here where it says adjust, I'm going to click on See All. And now we have a bunch of different sliders here. I'm going to start with the brightness. As you can see how jet black it is, as I lighten it, we sort of get a gray background, which matches this background a lot better. I'm going to adjust the contrast. That apple's a little bit too red, so I'm going to reduce the saturation. X process, let's see. I'm going to reduce that. Okay, vignette. Again, vignette is always important. It helps your book cover look more professional. So let's increase the vignette. It's going to make it, it's already, dark, but it's going to make the four corners like completely shadowed. So I'm going to increase that to 100%. I want this to be kind of cold, so we're dealing with vampires. And then I'm going to adjust the shadows and add a little bit of fade to that. Okay, now let's click on the front cover here and do the same thing. Let's come over to Edit Image. We're trying to get the coloring and the shading to be very cohesive and similar. So again, go to Adjust, See All, and then we can adjust the brightness. I'm going to increase that. So you can see how now the backgrounds are very similar, where this one was very jet black. And same thing here, I'm adjusting contrast. Okay, and I'm going to add a vignette to this photo as well. 100. Okay, see the warmth? We don't want to increase that because it's going to make her you look very alive and flesh colored. If she's a vampire, we want to keep it on the cool side. So maybe put it at a -10. Okay, so here are our two photos. They look like they could have possibly have been taken by the same photographer now. The whole cover looks very cohesive. Now we need to check to make sure that we are still within our guidelines or parameters of our template. So in order to check that, again, we're going to click right in the middle. And then we are going to come up here to position, and we are going to bring it forward. So now our template is over both of our images. We can see all of our apple. None of it is concealed by this barcode. A little bit is going to be in the red here, but that's perfectly fine because we just really need to focus on the bite, not so much this back end of it. And everything still looks great over here on our cover. Okay, so everything looks good with the front and back. We're going to work on our spine, but let's go ahead and move the template backward again. Backward. All right. So the template's there, but again, it's just hidden in the back. Okay, for our spine, we're actually going to come over here to our lines and shapes. We're just going to click on our square, and we are going to take this top control and stretch it all the way up, and stretch the bottom all the way down. And let's bring the sides in and the other side. Okay, so now we need to change the color. Right now it's like this orangey red. Let's come up to our color box right here. And once you click on it, you get your color palettes. Now we have 2 photo palettes. So these are all the colors found in the vampire woman photo. And then right below that, now we have the image of the apple. And these are the colors that were found in that image. So you can see if I click on this red, it changes, or we can change it to this. This orange is going to be found right here in the peel. Now I'm going to show you if you want to customize that color, you can come up here to add a new color. Now we can either choose a red from here. You can see it's changing as I move the slider. I can move it over to this side and change the color. Or I can take this eyedropper tool and you can place it over anything and it will change that color. So let's say I wanted to place it over the greenish part of her nose. You can see it turns like a chartreuse color. Let's put it over the reddest part of this bite, and it's sort of a pinkish red. Do it over the peel. It's a purplish red. Okay, so you can adjust that however you like. I am actually going to, let's see, I like that red there, the one that was actually in the photos. Let's see how that looks. And I might darken it some, so I chose that red. Here it is. I want it to be like a nice sort of blood red. All right, let's click off to the side and see how it looks. Okay, so you see that little line of white? That means there is a gap there. We need to fix that. We don't want any gaps in our book cover design. Click on the spine and then we're going to kind of stretch it till it goes over the dotted line. And let's stretch this side as well, just a fraction. Okay, so now I want to check on our spine to make sure it is within the guidelines of our template. So click on the red of the spine. And we are going to go over to position. Now this time, instead of forward and backward, we have one down here that says to back. That means it's going to push it to the very back, meaning we don't have to do backward, backward, backward. We can just click on to back and push it all the way behind the template. So you can see we have this pink of the template here. So now let's click on the center again. We're going to click on position. And again, instead of clicking forward, forward, we're going to go right below that and just click on to front. It's going to move the template all the way to the front. Okay, so there is our template. We can see the front cover, the back cover, and the spine. If you want to adjust the transparency, click on the template, then click on the checkerboard. So as I lower the transparency, you can see, let me zoom in right here. I'm going to move this slider. So you can see here we have no gaps. The front cover goes over the fold. The back cover goes over the fold, and then all the center is red. Right, I'm going to zoom back out. And now let's go ahead and send our template all the way to the back again. So we're going to click on position, and we're just going to click on to back. It's going to push the template all the way to the back and click off to the side. So now we need to add our book title, our author name, and then since this is a print book, we want to add a book blurb on the back. Okay, so let's come over here to our toolbox. We're going to come down to text. So now we have all these new options in our toolbox. We have add a heading, add a subheading, and add a little bit of body text. Below that, we have some pre-made titles. Some of these have the crown, which means those are available with Canva Pro. And then all of the ones without the crown, such as this one here and these two here, those are available with the free version. Again, if you want to take advantage of all the options, just use my affiliate link in the description box below. You'll get a free trial and then you'll have access to all of these. So you can start with one of these pre-made font titles. Let me just show you for example. I could click on this one here. It's going to appear over here on our canvas. You would just minimize it, click in the box, change the wording and position it how you want it. I'm going to delete that. So I'm going to go to the top selection here that says add a heading. Once I click on that, it's going to appear over here on our canvas. Let's see, let's call this, we are going to call this forbidden fruit because we have this apple here. Now, as you saw, the text box was too large. You can either just drag it in. Another option is to come up here to the font size and make a selection there, or increase or decrease with the plus and minus. If you click off to the side and then come back, you'll be able to reposition it where you want it. So I'm just going to place it right here for now because we're going to go in and select a font. Please do not leave your book title with this plain, boring font. Let me click off to the side to show you. I often see book cover designs that there's a lot of work put into the image, and then the font is left really plain and boring. This really takes down the value of your cover. So make sure and customize your font. Don't leave it as is. So you can see I clicked on the text box, then I'm coming up here to the top left where it says Canva Sans. Once I click on this down caret, all of our font choices are going to appear here in our toolbox. The top part says recently used. Canva actually saves your most recently used fonts. So that's really cool if you ever forget the name, because there are so many of them, so more than likely you're going to forget the name of one you previously used, but you can always scroll up to the top and check on that. Again, you will see some have the crown. Those are available with Canva Pro, but the majority of them are free. So you can just scroll through. They are alphabetized. There are tons and tons of them. You know, you'll probably spend a good amount of time deciding on the perfect font. I know I'm looking for something maybe like a little bit gothic, so I'm just going to kind of scroll through here until I land on one I like. Okay, so I think I found one that I like. This one here is called Rumble Brave. It has sort of a gothic style look to it. Now I do also want to show you that, let's see, I use lowercase. So some of these fonts, even though you are not holding down, shift or caps lock, they will still be in all caps, but there is a difference. For instance, let me press caps lock. Now let's see how it appears. So you can see you have a little bit of a difference when you are using caps lock. See the R trails down. There's a line in the middle of the O. What you can do is you can decide whether you like it in all caps or lowercase. And here's a quick way to do that. Click on the text box again, and then you're going to have this small toolbar right above it. Click on duplicate. It's going to give you a second box. So I'm going to write it again with just the F being capitalized this time, so we can see the differences. I think I like this top one. I like it has a little bit of that flare in that R. I definitely like the look in the O. Okay, so I'm going to stick with the top version. The title of this book is going to be Forbidden Fruit. So instead of deleting this bottom one, I'm just going to go in there, backspace, and change that one to fruit. So now we have our title, Forbidden Fruit. Okay, and then now I want to change the color from white to red. We have this red spine, we have a little bit of red on her cape, I guess the cowl of her cape, and then of course the red in the apples. So let's change our title to red. So I'm just going to click on the box, and then you can see up here we have an A with a little rainbow bar beneath it. That is the text color. Well, if you click on that, you will get your color palettes. I want to match the spine color, which should be this one right here. Let me click on that. This is another cool feature of Canva. It says document colors, so it saves the colors you recently used. So that red was saved from the spine, so all I had to do was click on that. Okay, if for some reason that color was not here in document colors, let me show you how you can easily match that. Let's do the step on fruit. So I'm going to click on fruit. Come up here to document colors, and again, we're pretending the red is not an option here. So what we would do is click on add a new color. We would click on the eyedropper, and we would place the circle over the spine. Now keep an eye on fruit down here. Watch what happens when I click on the red. It automatically changed, matching the spine. So again, if you wanted to match a color, just use your eyedropper tool. Now we click off to the side. I want both of these F's to be larger than the rest of the words. I can't do that without stretching the whole thing. So another quick trick we can do is click on the text box. Again, we're going to duplicate it. Let's move this up here for right now. Let's go to the original one. We're going to backspace over this F. Then we're going to come to the up to the top one and delete everything but the F. Now we are able to stretch just the F because I want it to be much larger. Make it a little bit bigger. Let me click off to the side so you can see it. So you see how much better that looks with the F larger than the rest of the letters. Now these are two separate text boxes. So if I decide to move this part, I'm going to leave this behind. Let me click undo so it'll go back. If you ever need to undo something, just come up here to the back arrow. This is undo, redo, and undo. Okay, I'm going to show you how to make this one text box so that you can move it around together. Click on the F, then hold down Shift, and then click on the rest of the word. So we have two purple boxes surrounded by a white dotted line box. Come up to the top right and click on the word group. It's going to group them together. So now we have one box and we can move them around together. We can also shrink it together or stretch it together. So now those two text boxes are one. If you for some reason decided to ungroup them, you would just come up here and click on ungroup, and then they would move independent of each other again. Okay, so I'm going to click off to the side, and now I want to do the same thing with fruit. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to duplicate the word fruit, I'm going to get rid of the F, and on this one here I'm going to get rid of everything but the F. I'm going to stretch it to, let's see, this one was 117. It's 115 right now. So let's just increase it by 2. Okay, so now the F's are exactly the same size. See right there? They're exactly the same. And I'm going to place it over here with the fruit. Once I have it positioned where I want it, I'm going to hold down Shift and click on both of them. I have two text boxes in a dotted line, and then I'm going to come up here and click on Group. Now I have one purple box that I can move around. Now we need to add our author name. So just come back over here, and instead of add a heading, we're going to add a subheading. This is going to give you a smaller text box. We're going to drag that down over here. I'm going to make that smaller. Now let's think of an author name. Okay, instead of Anne Rice, let's put Fran Price. Okay, so we have our author name. Now we just got to decide where we're going to place it, and then of course choose a much better font for it. Okay, so I might place it here. This is just kind of a holding spot. Let's come up to our font selections and find a better font for this. Since we already have a pretty fancy title font, let's pick something a little bit simple. I think I'm going to stick with this. Let's see, this is called Bebas New because it seems to be narrow like our title. Okay, so I want to choose a different color. That is a pretty bright white, so maybe let's try something like this gray. You know, there's nothing else on here that's white. We have some highlights of our skin. We can always try to match that if we wanted to. Let's see how that'll look. We'll come up here to add a new color. Let's get our eyedropper, and maybe not on the brightest part of her nose, but maybe in between. Okay, so that looks pretty good because it's bringing in some of the color from her face, and that just kind of helps it again be more cohesive. You can also choose the red if you wanted, but I want this title to stand out. So I like having the author name a different color, but it just seems like it blends much better by choosing a color already in the image. All right, so now we're going to add a book blurb to the back of our cover. So I'm going to come over here and just click on add a little bit of body text. We're going to get a new text box. It's going to appear in the center. We want to drag it up here to this side. And of course, this font size is way too big. So we're just going to come up here to the font size numbers. And let's try a 12. Okay, so I already have a pre-made book blurb. Okay, it's actually in 3 parts. So let's take the first part. I'm just going to copy, paste it right in here. All right, as you can see that it appeared centered because we have the alignment centered right up here. It shows you. We want to change that. So all we have to do is click to get it aligned left, but it did extend all the way across to the front cover, which we don't want. So just come over here, grab the end and drag it back. Okay, now remember we do have the red box all the way around, so we don't want it touching the edge. We need to actually bring it over think I want to make it slightly smaller. And not only do I want the left alignment, but I want it justified. Justified means that all the words are going to extend to this margin. So just come up here again. Now we're going to have it centered, right aligned, and then justified. So you can see now that it is aligned left, but the words reach all the way to the other margin. Again, I'm going to make it slightly smaller. And to center it, you just drag it until the dotted line appears. And I think I want to indent it. So let me come up here to that first line. Okay, again, I don't like this font. This is just a plain font. Let's choose something. Click on the font choices at the top. Remember, we want something that is really easy to read. Okay, so I like this one here, this Laura. I want to bring it in a little bit more because I'm just thinking about where those lines are. Okay, so now I have two more parts to bring in to this book blurb, but I want to go ahead and change the color of the font first because I'm going to duplicate it. Right now it is white, so we can either change it to the same color that's on the front with the author name, which is right here. It's this sort of greenish color. Now on the front, it matches with the face, but there's nothing green here. So instead, I think I might want to match with the fleshy part of the apple. Let's see. This one kind of looks like it, but we can actually, again, go up to our eyedropper tool and just click on the white part. So now you can see it changed to match the apple. Okay, I think that looks really good against this dark background, so we'll keep it that color. Now, to do the second part of the book blurb, I can either go over here, add body text, choose a font, choose a size, and choose the color, or to make it super simple, I just go right above this box and click on duplicate. It made me a second box with all the same words, but what I'm going to do is, let me take the second section of my blurb, copy, and then I'm going to delete this and paste it in there. So it's already, aligned in the right color and everything. And then I have one more section I need to add. So I will duplicate this one and go back to my blurb. And it's just this very last part with 2 sentences. Okay, now the only thing I want to do is I want to make sure they are spaced evenly. In order to do that is I'm just going to click on the first text box, hold down Shift, click on the second one, and then hold down Shift, click on the third. I have all 3 text boxes selected. I'm going to come up here to Position, and there's one down here called Tidy Up. It's going to make sure that they are lined up properly and spaced properly. Right now I can move them, which I'm going to move them slightly up above the apple. And if I wanted to, I could come over here and group them all together. So now they're inside one text box, and I can move that box however I want. So now we need to add our title to our spine. Another quick tip, instead of going back and choosing a heading and the font and all that, is just to go to our first box here, Forbidden. Now you remember we grouped the F with the rest of the word because we wanted the larger F. So I'm going to quickly ungroup them for just a minute. And you can see now we have a toolbar with 3 options. I want to click on Forbidden, I guess. And then right above it, there is a duplicate. I'm going to click on the duplicate, bring it up here out of the way. For this one, I don't want that R hanging down because it might get out of the bleed line. So let's go ahead and just write it all lowercase with the exception of the F. So now we've switched it to lowercase. We need to go ahead and add the second word because it's all going to be in one line. This is definitely too big, so I'm just going to go ahead and drag it in and then click after the N, space, write fruit. It went to the second line because I needed to stretch it, so I'm going to grab the side and just stretch it until it fits on one line. All right. Now we need to change the color to black because red on red is not going to show. So come up here to your text color, and I'm just going to go down to default colors down here, click on black. So now we need to pivot it so it fits long ways. Okay, so right below the text box, you'll see a symbol with 2 arrows going in a circle. Click on that symbol, and then now you can shift it left and right and all the way around. We want to shift it until we see 90 degrees. Okay, so that means it is straight up and down like that. And I'm going to click off to the side for a second, come back and grab it. And now we should be able to move it over to the spine. You'll know it's in the center when the center dotted line appears right about there. Okay, and then now you can move it up if you want it more towards the edge, right about there. Now I'm going to click off to the side. And then now we need to add the author name. So again, we can just click on the author name, duplicate that. This time I don't think I wanted that greenish color on the red. I don't think it's going to look very good. Let's see. Okay, so we'll see if it's going to look okay. So right now, all we need to do is to pivot it 90 degrees. Again, grab that symbol, turn it till you see the 90, right about there. Okay, now let's just move it over here, place it in the center. Let me zoom in. I'm not sure if I like that color against the red. Another option would be, let me come up here, click on text color. Let's see, here's the color we used on the apple. Now let me zoom out and see how that looks. So let's see, here's before and after. I think I'm going to leave it the color that matches the book blurb. I think it looks a little bit better and it stands out a little bit more if I leave it the lighter color. Okay, now that we got everything in place, we need to pull up our template. We haven't pulled up our template in a while to make sure that everything is within the template parameters. So let me zoom out slightly. Okay, so now we can't see our template at all, but there is a quick way to fix that. Click in the center on the spine. Then we are going to click on position, and I'm going to just click to back. It's going to send it all the way to the back. Which means that the template will be moved forward. So you'll notice it turns sort of a lighter red. That means the template's in front of it. So I'm going to click on it again. Now you can see the box all the way around appears. That's the box for the template. Click on position again, and we're going to click on to front. It moves the whole template forward. So you can see now, we can see the words where it says paperback and all of that. We want to adjust the transparency, so come up to your checkerboard and let's move it all the way up. There's 100, so now we know the template is on the very top. And then now as we bring it down, we are going to start seeing our images behind it. So I'm going to stop at 40 and now we're going to start checking it. Okay, let's start with our title. Our title is well within the boundaries. See, here is the bleed line. Remember, everything in the red is out of live. So as long as this F, there's a gap between this F and this red line, we are good. If for some reason your title was touching it, it's going to be cut off or it's going to be in the fold. So make sure there is a gap between your title and your image and all of the red area. Okay, again, it's perfectly fine that her forehead and the cape is slightly cut off. But what's important is the title and also the author name. There's plenty of space between the author name and the red on the right and below it. So that is in a safe space. Now let's come over here. Our image, our apple, is completely in a safe space. You know, it's perfectly fine that some of it right here is in the red. There's nothing hidden behind our barcode. Now let's check our book blurb. We made sure that we brought in the sides. So there's a gap to the left of it, a gap to the right of it, a gap above it, and then it is not over any images and no images are over it. So it looks pretty good. Now I'm going to zoom in while we check our spine. Okay, so let's look at our title. There's plenty of space around it. If it was too large, then, you know, some of the top of the letters could have been cut off or the bottom, but it looks like we have plenty of space above the title, below the title, and of course before it and after it. The author name looks pretty good. There's space above it, space below it, to the left and to the right. Okay, so I think this looks pretty good. I'm going to reduce the transparency all the way down to 0. So let's give it a really good quality assurance check before we download it. Again, we have our images, our spine, there's no spaces, no gaps. Title looks good. You can easily read it from a distance, whether it was on a shelf or as a thumbnail image on Amazon.com. There is our author name. Okay, let's go ahead and read our book blurb for this fake book. Queen Ravenna is the most powerful vampire in the world. She has been alive for centuries and has never been defeated. But when she meets a human named Sebastian, she begins to question her ways. Sebastian is unlike anyone Ravenna has ever met before, and he makes her feel things she never thought possible. As they get closer, Ravenna realizes that she may be finally ready to let go of her past and start a new life with Sebastian. But can she truly change who she is? Or will the darkness inside her consume them both? Okay, so that is the plot of our fake vampire novel, Forbidden Fruit by Fran Bryce. Okay, so before we download it, we want to remember the instructions said to delete our template. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to click on it again. Okay, now you can't see it because remember we reduced the transparency, made it invisible. So let's click on our checkerboard and increase it all the way to 100. Right, so now we can see it. It's on top of all of the images. Here's a reminder, remove this template layer from final artwork. All we're going to do is click on the little trash can in the center, delete. And there it is completely gone. There is no more template layer. All right, so now let's download our book cover. First, we need to name our project at the top right. We're just going to call this Forbidden Fruit. I'm going to say print cover. I'm going to say paperback print cover. Canva saves your project every, 10 seconds or so. If you wanted to click on save, you can come over here to the top left, click on file, and there is save right there. All changes saved. Here are the dimensions again, if you needed to know that. Remember, we got them from our KDP cover calculator. Here's our project name. And now let's download it and take a look at our finished product. Come up here to share on the top right, and then go down to download. Okay, so you can download this as a PNG, a JPEG, PDF standard, PDF print. First, let's download it for PDF print. So we're going to click on that. And we want to flatten the PDF, meaning it's not going to have all these layers like a text layer. It's going to flatten it all as one layer. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, and then now we're just going to download it. You can see it is downloading here. Okay, so the PDF completed. I'm going to go ahead and download it again. Click on share. I guess I'll go ahead and do it as a PNG, and then I'll click on download. So now it's downloading that version. Okay, as soon as it downloads, I'm going to show you, we're going to take a look at them. All right, so first let's click on the PDF. Okay, so here is how our book cover looks in our PDF file. It looks great. You can see there are no gaps, nothing is cut off. You can easily read it at a glance. Okay, now let's check out our PNG. All right, and then here is our PNG version. So see how crisp and clear it looks. There were two totally different photos. We were able to go in and adjust the coloring. We desaturated this photo to look cohesive with this photo. We have our splash of color with the title and the spine, and back here the bloody apple. This looks fantastic. So when you go submit your manuscript into Amazon KDP, and then you get to the area where it says to upload your book cover. So you would just upload this file, and if everything was done right to the right measurements, and then remember, the major tip is to extend it all the way to the end of the read. If everything looks as it should be, you will get that approval usually within 24 hours, and then your book will be live. And imagine how exciting it's going to be. Not only that you wrote this amazing book and story, but that you were able to go in and customize and personalize your very own book cover that is tailor-made for your story by you. You didn't have to pay tons of money. You were able to do this. We used free software, Canva. Again, if you want access to the pro version, use that affiliate link in the description box below. But if not, you can easily make a professional cover using all the free features on there as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you design your own paperback print book cover. And if you want more tips and tricks on designing an eye-catching book cover, use the link below or hop on over to my website, bookcoversdiy.com. Click on the orange banner at the top, and then you can sign up and get my free ebook. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Designing an Eye-Catching Book Cover. It's full of secrets and tips of the trade. It has full color photos, and not just what to do, but how to do it and why you should do it. And I've included a bonus checklist, so as you are going along designing your book cover, you can check off each tip to make sure you're adding those secrets and tricks into your final book cover design. It is completely free. Just enter your name and email, and you will get immediate access to the free ebook. So be sure and check that out. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. We're going to be adding a lot more book cover designs and other tutorials as well. So thanks again for watching this tutorial and liking and commenting. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.